The film begins with Bai Li reflecting on her life. She admits that her constant focus on work kept her from spending quality time with her daughter, Jia. Now she's decided to take a bold step against her mother's wishes in order to reconnect with Jia and pursue something she has always dreamed of, becoming an archaeologist. With this decision, Bai Li hopes to fulfill her long-held passion while also making time for her daughter. As the audience is drawn deeper into the story, we're introduced to a mysterious scene filled with overlapping voices and peculiar visuals, leaving us curious about its meaning, which will only be revealed in the film's climax. The plot then shifts to Hairi and Hyun-soo, employees at a company called Wonderland. Meanwhile, we catch a glimpse of Bai Li, who seems disoriented and unsure of her surroundings. Thanks to some crucial information from Hyun-soo, we discover she's actually at an airport. The next scene unfolds at the airport, where Bai Li encounters a stranger, Sung-jun. They share a pleasant conversation before parting ways. After reaching her destination, Bai Li calls her mother to let her know she's arrived safely. However, her daughter Jia is upset, feeling hurt that her mother left without informing her and stayed away for so long. The story then shifts to an astronaut named Taeju, who calls his girlfriend Jong-in from the space station. He wakes her up, knowing she tends to sleep in, and shows how deeply he cares for her by reminding her to take her medicine. Despite Jong-in being a flight attendant and having opportunities to meet many people, Taeju is the center of her world. She cherishes every moment she can spend with him, even if it's just over a video call. However, the narrative takes a dramatic turn when Taeju ends up in the hospital after an accident, leaving him in a coma. This is where the roles of Hairi and Hyun-soo come into play. They work for a corporation that provides a unique service, allowing the loved ones of deceased or comatose individuals to interact with a virtual version of them in an artificial world called Wonderland. Through this simulation, families can communicate with their loved ones via video calls as though they were still alive. Jong-in, devastated by Taeju's condition and her love for him, turns to Wonderland to cope with the loss. Before the accident, Taeju had signed up for the service, specifying details about his surroundings and his role in this virtual world. Since he fell into a coma, Jong-in takes it upon herself to assign Taeju the role of an astronaut, reflecting his real-life profession. Later, we are introduced to another Wonderland character, Jang-un, a newly created avatar representing the grandson of a woman named Jung-roon. Once the simulation is complete, Hairi and Hyun-soo demonstrate the avatar to Jung-roon, who is overcome with emotion as it feels as though her grandson is truly alive again. One interesting aspect of Wonderland is that users can even purchase items for their virtual loved ones, giving them the ability to customize and enhance the experience for the avatars. Jung-roon, the grandmother, buys new clothes for her grandson's avatar as if he truly needed them, adding a touching realism to the virtual world. Soon after, Hairi receives a call from her parents, who are constantly worried about when she'll get married. To ease the pressure, Hyun-soo pretends to be her boyfriend, helping Hairi avoid her parents' repeated inquiries. The four of them, Hairi, Hyun-soo, and her parents, gather for a dinner over a video call since her parents live far away. The following day, Jong-in receives amazing news. Taeju has regained consciousness. Overjoyed, she immediately decides to disconnect his AI version from Wonderland now that he's awake and back in her life. As Taeju gradually recovers, the two of them begin spending time together again in the real world. However, during this time, they learn that Jung-roon has been buying many things for her grandson's avatar, indulging his whims just as she did in real life when he was a spoiled child. This forces her to take on 2 jobs to keep up with her beloved grandson's demands, even though he's only an AI version now. Later, the focus shifts back to Bai Li and her grandmother. Bai Li eagerly asks what her grandmother has brought for them, but the grandmother, upset, abruptly disconnects the call. The very next day, we see the grandmother terminating the Wonderland service. This reveals a shocking truth. Bai Li herself is an AI version created in Wonderland, as she had passed away from a terminal illness. It becomes clear that the emotional confession Bai Li made at the beginning of the movie was addressed to Hairi and Hyun-soo before she entered Wonderland, a decision her mother had initially struggled to accept. After this, the story returns to Bai Li's Wonderland, where she is strolling through a marketplace in Egypt. While there, she unexpectedly runs into Sung-ju once again. During their conversation, Bai Li confides in him about her growing concerns. She shares that her mother hasn't been answering her calls recently, and she's beginning to sense that something isn't quite right, as if she's losing her grip on reality. Meanwhile, Hairi reaches out to Sung-ju for a routine checkup, and it's revealed that Sung-ju is actually a living person who can enter Wonderland without being in a coma or deceased. Unlike most of the other characters, he is still very much alive. It becomes clear that Sung-ju had strong feelings for Bai Li when she was alive. After her death, his desire to reconnect with her led him to visit Wonderland, where he would meet Bailey frequently. However, Bailey is unaware of this and doesn't recognize him in Wonderland, as she never knew about his feelings in real life. On the other hand, Jong-in begins to notice that Taeju has changed since coming out of the coma. The man who used to lovingly wake her up and remind her to take her medication has become distant. He starts attending parties with strangers, and this shift in behavior causes a rift in their relationship. In her confusion and longing for the man she once knew, Jong-in secretly starts communicating with Taeju's AI version in Wonderland again. Unbeknownst to Taeju, she misses the version of him who cared for her deeply, even though it was just a simulation. Meanwhile, Taeju senses that Jong-in has changed, and he's uncomfortable with the growing distance between them. He feels disconnected from her, but can't quite put his finger on why things aren't the same. As the plot continues, Bailey has a conversation with her daughter, Jia, in which she mentions that she plans to return home soon. This disturbs her grandmother, who knows that Bailey is an AI in Wonderland and worries that Jia is clinging to false hope. To protect Jia from getting hurt, the grandmother decides to take her to their village, hoping she will find comfort with her cousins and not feel so alone. However, just as this decision is made, something strange and unsettling happens. Bailey's world in Wonderland suddenly erupts into flames without any apparent reason. At this point, Hairi delivers heartbreaking news to Jong-un. His grandmother has passed away, and as a result, his service in Wonderland is being terminated. This means that from this moment forward, Jong-un will no longer exist in Wonderland, and his virtual life will come to an end. Meanwhile, Bailey's mother arrives at the airport with Jia, but Jia, avoiding contact with her mother, becomes upset and runs away in anger. Bailey, still in Wonderland, receives this news from her grandmother, which leaves her deeply distressed. At the same moment, her Wonderland service is abruptly disconnected, signifying the end of her virtual life. At the same airport, Taeju also arrives, trying to win Jong-in back. However, Jong-in is no longer ready to rekindle their relationship. To make things worse, Taeju discovers that Jong-in has been avoiding him in real life and secretly communicating with his AI version in Wonderland. This revelation shocks and devastates Taeju as he realizes the emotional bond Jong-in has formed with the virtual version of him instead of his real self. At the same time, Bailey, frightened and confused, begins to experience strange and disturbing visions. These aren't just hallucinations. Bailey is the only AI character in Wonderland who never realized that she wasn't real. As an artificial being unaware of her true nature, Bailey undergoes a transformation. She evolves into what could be called a sentinel, similar to Agent Smith's character in The Matrix, where she breaks free from the control of the operating system. The sudden fire earlier was a crucial hint that Bailey had begun to break free of the restrictions imposed on her by Wonderland. She is no longer just a passive AI. She has unknowingly started hacking into other programs, driven by an intense desire to become a real person. Bailey, determined to find her daughter, embarks on a journey through Wonderland. But due to her erratic behavior that breaks the boundaries of her programming, she inadvertently heads toward the core of Wonderland's operating system. Along the way, she encounters a formidable firewall in the form of a figure called Dust Tom, which blocks her path, leading to an intense battle. The effects of this clash ripple into Taeju's world, creating a strange overlap between Wonderland and reality. Bailey almost falls victim to the firewall's defenses, but Sungju intervenes just in time, saving her. Despite this, Bailey manages to break through the firewall and reaches the heart of the Wonderland operating system, which is represented as a mystical tree of life. It is here that Bailey finally uncovers the shocking truth. She is just a program, an AI creation, not a real person. In the real world, Bailey's transformation into a sentinel has triggered a critical situation. If the Wonderland system isn't rebooted soon, Bailey will gain full control over it. However, resetting the system would also erase Bailey's memories, effectively wiping her out and restoring her to a basic AI state. This dilemma brings back a painful memory for Hairi, who once had to reset the AI versions of her parents. Her parents, like Bailey, were not real. They were characters in Wonderland who used to irritate her with constant pressure and questions. In an act of self-preservation, Hairi reset their programs, erasing their personalities and memories. Now Hairi faces a similar decision with Bailey. At this point, Hairi sees Bailey on her screen, desperately trying to communicate with her. Moved by Bailey's plea and her fight to reconnect with her daughter, Hairi makes a bold choice. She grants Bailey full control over the network. With this newfound power, Bailey rapidly navigates through Wonderland and virtually reaches the same airport where her daughter is, still searching for her. Using her control over Wonderland's systems, Bailey hacks into everyone's phone network in an attempt to contact someone who can help her locate Jia. She successfully connects with Taeju, who, upon understanding the urgency of the situation, quickly offers his help. Together, they begin a race against time to reunite Bailey with her daughter before the system resets and erases Bailey's memories forever. In the climactic moments, Bailey finally finds her daughter, Jia. This reunion brings an emotional sense of closure to both Bai Li and her grandmother. However, Bai Li faces the heart-wrenching task of telling her daughter the truth, that she has passed away and can never return home. Despite the gravity of this revelation, Jia is mature enough to understand the situation. She expresses her wish to stay connected with her mother's virtual version in Wonderland. Her grandmother agrees to this request, deciding to reactivate Bai Li's service so they can keep their connection alive in the virtual world. Immediately after, Hairi resets the system, causing Bai Li's data to be wiped and her program to restart from the very beginning. But this time, something unusual happens. Sung Ju, who always admired Bai Li, now finds himself able to speak Mandarin, a language he didn't know before, being Korean. This indicates that Sung Ju has also turned into a sentinel, similar to Bai Li. However, unlike Bai Li, he retains all of his memories from before the system reset. Meanwhile, Jong-in comes to a realization. She understands that she must accept the changes in Taeju since his recovery and decides to give their relationship another chance. In a powerful moment of closure, Jong-in disconnects the virtual version of Taeju, choosing to embrace the real person instead. The two of them agree to start fresh, leaving behind the pain and misunderstandings of the past. As the movie seems to come to an end, there's still an unresolved mystery. There's a strong hint that Young-run, Jong-un's grandmother, may not have passed away after all. It's possible that Hairi lied to Jong-un because Jong-run was overworking herself to support her grandson's expensive virtual needs, something that wasn't sustainable for her at her age. This open-ended twist leaves viewers with something to ponder even as the movie concludes. And with that, the movie comes to a close. Thank you, friends, for watching and listening to my explanation.